Features, and you're listening to Show X Live with Ken in a student accommodation all the way in Scotland, and Wayne in his white windowless van? Uh-oh, I better get out of here. Enjoy the show!
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Show X on VTWProductions.com. You're listening live at 2 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. GMT on today, the 8th of November, 2015. And I am joined by our good friend and my co-host, Mr. Well, I should say like the whole thing, but Lord Kenneth Neil Reed.
You missed like all the.
I know. I can't do it without one of Copy's emails to like read it off of.
I also
because the official title is only what Copy has given us. And so I just can't do it without. But that's okay. Anyhow, how are you doing today, sir?
I'm pretty good. I've had a really good week. I've had a fantastic week, so I'm pretty happy. I'm nice and tanned. It's not obvious because I just go pink, but I'm tanned. But I'm good. How about yourself? How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. I can't complain too much. Things are all right. Hoping to have a decent and fun show today before going away and having to deciding if I'm going to help a friend after the show or not. Someone who put out one of those blast requests that basically says, hey everybody, we're moving. And we could use some help.
But you always are the guy. You're always the guy that does these things.
I often am, and a part of me is just kind of like, do I really want to today, or am I spent? And I have not fully decided. And so, yeah, I gotta figure that out still. But that's alright, I'm doing well. And I think we should... it's good. And I think we should start things off right today with a little bit of...
functional deviations.
So, Ken, what have you been doing to have such a lovely week this week, and to be all nice and redder and such? Because I know I saw some pics and some videos and things like that I found quite entertaining, but let's please share with everyone else out there.
Okay, I'll try out the sneeze. Whoa. Failed. I just sneeze.
Unfortunately, on this mic, I don't have the mute, so if I do that, everyone's going to hear it.
Oh no, I love the mute function. It is my favorite thing. I'm always coughing away. Nobody has to suffer through it with me. Yes, so I went to Tenerife this week. Left on Monday with Kitten. Features came back on Friday. And we had many funny incidents, some annoying ones, and some ones that just damn well made me angry, which I'll get onto first because they're the most fun ones.
I can't wait.
Yes, let's go. So the sort of recurring theme, I don't know how it became that, but where I have like battles with old women.
Yes, I was wondering if that's where we were going with that.
Well, I don't know why that always happens, but I managed to fall out with more old women this week, and old men actually. So, this was on the Friday when we're coming back, and we're really tired, been traveling all day, and never mind the fact that, being slightly warm tires me out, never mind being in, 25 degrees Celsius, which is, as I googled that, 77 Fahrenheit, is more than enough to kill me for a week, and burn me, and make me feel absolutely, completely, and utterly knackered. So I was already completely spent, and just getting on this flight, and they call us up for boarding, so we go up into the queue, the right gate and stuff, and there's nobody there. We're there on time, and there's no staff present, right? So we're like, what's going on here? We end up waiting for 20 minutes, and people are all queued up, facing the gate. Now, we have our fast pass tickets. We paid like £5 extra, or whatever minimal cost is.
Yeah, to be able to
so that we can get on the plane and sit down without stress, right? It came with the fact that we chose to be seated together and get the more spacious seats. We're nowhere near being able to afford like first class or even business class. All we did is upgrade to be sitting at emergency exits, right? So it's a tiny cost for a big amount of benefit, in my opinion. 5 hours of flying, you want the extra space. The £10 is well worth it. And to sit next to my wife, obviously, is totally worth doing.
Absolutely.
So we paid for this slight luxury. And so finally the staff come up, and we're like middle front, near the front of the queue already. And they set up their little booth, and it says, guys with the fast pass come into this queue, and guys who are in the slower bit stay in the queue you are already in. So we move over into the next queue. Now, being the fact that we're not complete assholes, we don't push in front of everybody else. Even though we were already quite far ahead in the first queue, we thought, hey, there's a new queue. When there's a new queue, you go to the end of the queue. That's just how queuing works. You don't butt in where you feel it's appropriate. You go to the end of the queue.
So this is coming from British discussion of queuing, where you guys are known to have the full etiquette of how to queue well in hand.
Yes, it's an obvious thing. I mean, even in computing, queues and stacks and stuff, it's a well-known concept. Where a stack is something like plates, where you put a plate on top, then you take something off the top, right? You do the same in computing with stacks. And there's a thing called a queue in computing as well, for memory, where you put something in, and the first thing that goes in is the first thing that comes out as well. So it's the opposite of a stack, right? It's well known, thoroughly discussed, and it's an obvious thing that everybody knows already. So it's not even an advanced topic. Any old Joe Schmo should understand what a queue is. Speaking of old, so we get into the back of this queue, and I say the back, where it's like, we're at the very end of it, right? And there's a good 50 people in front of us. But we don't mind, we're all going to get on the plane in the end, and we're just speedy boarding already, so we're quite happy to be in this queue. And this group of about 6 old people... wait. So we get into the end of the queue, and a bunch of other people behind us as well, so there's like another 20 people behind us.
Okay.
Then these old people who are at the front of the original queue, try and follow me here, pushed in front of us. And we're like, dude, guys, I actually said to them, excuse me, there's a queue. I mean, we're all queuing as well. Just get to the end of the queue. I saw what happened. You were at the start of that queue, and you want to stay at the beginning or something. But, you know, queuing is still a thing. Being polite is still a thing. That hasn't changed. Just because... circumstances changed, and just deal with it. You're already in the speedy queue because you paid extra. Don't worry, you're getting on fast. Just get to the end of the queue like we did. We also sacrificed our space to get into the other queue. But that's what happens. And they weren't happy with this. So they said, oh, no, we were at the front of the old queue. And I said, yeah, so were we. And this old woman turns and looks at me and says, oh, that's unfortunate. And stays in front of me.
Oh...
I mean, it was a bunch of old people who, like, they're in their 70s and their 80s, and I was like, you know, just because you're old doesn't entitle you to being able to push in front. Why don't you, because there's people behind me that are old as well, there's people behind me that are young, there's people behind me that are pregnant, some of them have kids, some of them are disabled. Why the hell do you get to push in front? What right do you have? We've all paid the same, we're all getting on the plane, why do you think you're so entitled? They walked in the middle of it acting all confused, and then they just sort of stayed there like, oh, we're in this queue now. And I think most people, if you said to them, excuse me, there's a queue here, which I assumed they'd go, oh, sorry, and then head to the back, because that's what you'd expect. No, they just said, oh no, we were at the front of the queue, and when I reminded them, so were we, they said, that's unfortunate. It's unfortunate that we pushed in front of you, that we chose to be assholes. That's unfortunate for you. So
it is unfortunate to you, but yeah.
After this conversation, the like 7 people standing behind me and Kitten were all started muttering like, geez, look at these assholes who just pushed in. Oh my god, I can't believe they did that. But being British, nobody else said anything. So, that's just how we are, right? We're so polite that even if people are being rude, we just sort of mumble to ourselves in disgruntled fashion.
Which is exactly why old people can get away with that.
Exactly. They completely abuse their age, and it's so unfair, because there's people, if we wanted to follow that order, fine. Everybody should have done it. It's not fair that you get away with it, nobody else does. I mean, we should have been further in front of you, to be honest. So, you know, grow up and deal with it. Learn some respect, Mr. 75 Pro. Come on. So as soon as we actually start boarding, they make a slight space to talk. They're talking to each other. Kitten looks at me with a devilish look, grabs my hand, and we go shooting in front of them. To which they start making some snide remarks and like something along the lines of, oh, you should, I don't know, they said something assholeish anyway, and about how it was unfair that we were pushing. And Kitten turns around and looks at the old woman in the face and says, "That's unfortunate." So it's quite satisfying to be assholes to old people when they deserved it.
So this goes back to, well, just like what Kitten Features did there, I think I've had the conversation before where I've stated there's, those differences between each country and how people tend to act. How Kitten Features is very American. And the things like that of having a strong American woman around you who is, no kidding, going to be like, "Excuse me, I don't think so." It's somewhat interesting and fun to see how that all transpires.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason that usually when you look at silly videos of like Walmart fights, that, no offense, but it is often in America, because you guys are a bit more proud and willing to stand up for yourself. We're a bit more laid back and follow the rules kind of people. We don't want to cause a fuss.
Well, see, that's the difference, right? It's not wanting to cause a fuss versus us saying, "Excuse me, but you just did something against my freedom rights," or whatever, the feeling that I think is right. And in America, we're more like taught to stand up for that and say, "I don't think so."
So it's kind of just our normal culture. US, though? I mean, like, do people ever push it? Or?
Queuing is not as refined. We do have our lines that we get in, but in the similar situation to what you discussed, anyone who is trying to get into that next line would essentially, at that initial point where they call it and say, like, this other queue is here, they would all, like, split out from the middle of wherever they were over as close to where they were in line ahead of time and try to move towards the front. The other challenge with airlines, especially if they're not, depending on the airline, some have different ways of setting up the queues, but at least one, some I've found where they still just kind of call a section, like all the people with an A on your list can start going, all the people with a B, C, stuff like that. Everyone just kind of does the into one mob to get to the front. I mean, no pushing, kicking, screaming, or anything like that, but you can even see beforehand, and I'm guilty of it too, it's part of the culture, of people as they're getting ready to call your...
Getting ready to rush over.
Well, so you see it kind of form that little halo around the people who are allowed to go.
Yeah.
And you'll even get the couple that will try to time it so that they, like, jump into that line right when they're calling the next. So they're like, "Oh, no, they just called us. All right, we're good." And I've even seen the ones...
Which is fair, right? I mean, it's a bit snidey, but it's fine. You're allowed to do that.
And you can, but and so you see that kind of press where... there's a condition definitely here in the U.S. where people feel entitled. They feel like for whatever reason they are more important than everyone else and can skip rules and things like that. Even to the degree of, like, some of my least favorite people are the ones who, when driving, will get into traffic to the point where it's pretty much bumper to bumper. You're not really moving fast. And some people who feel like they should be ahead of everyone and have a need to be there faster will do things like going into the shoulder of the road off of the lanes where you normally have your emergency area and such, and try to use it as a lane because they want to get around traffic and stuff like that. And those are, like, to me, the worst ones, most dangerous and stuff like that.
That's really bad.
Where I will actually, like, pull out in front of them
and risk their lives to save a few seconds only to get to a red light or something. It's just like, there was no point in you risking your life, your child's life in the back seat, and your dog's life in the other one, so that you could save 2 seconds and then lose it straight away anyway. I mean, people just annoy me. They just don't think about these things.
It goes back into that level of people feeling entitled, feeling like they are the most important in any given situation, and therefore they should be able to do whatever the heck they want because people aren't likely to call them out. And in some cases, even if they are called out, aren't likely to do anything that's going to really change the situation other than, like you said, mumble and stuff like that. And so, it's an unfortunate truth. And
yes,
what we find in the U.S. more often than not, especially at, like, attractions, Disneyland, stuff like that, or bigger event things, we often have foreigners who come over, and I say foreigner because different nationalities, who will try to take advantage of the fact that they're tourists and act as though they don't know the rules, don't know what's being said, stuff like that, to just
who doesn't know
go where they want, do what they want. We've seen this a lot of times where people will just walk to basically the front of a line like, "Oh," and you'll say something and be like, "Oh, say something where it's like, "I don't understand you, what? I don't know." And it's just like, you know.
That's when you're sitting there
just an
saying,
ass.
I wish I could speak Spanish.
Oh, then
Or
I
whatever.
usually... Thankfully, I have enough Spanish to be able to, be offensive. But beyond that, not much any other languages.
Not to correct them, to be offensive. I like
To
it.
some degree. I can
Yeah,
communicate real
we've
basics.
had that before. Kitten speaks pretty good Spanish, so whenever there's people in the bar that come in, she can often work out what they're saying. And there's been a few occasions when they're saying things like, I don't know, the waiting staff's terrible here, they're so slow, and she's just like, oh, my apologies, we'll try to be faster in the future, in Spanish, back to them. And they're like,
Oh yeah. It's one of those. Well, and we get it around here too because there's a lot of Spanish spoken in the U.S. and they use it specifically to avoid people understanding what they're saying. Happens a lot of times in certain not just restaurants but shopping areas and stuff where I'll be walking around and I'll hear stuff off back my. Unfortunately I don't know enough to really catch all the speech, but I can tell when someone's basically being, condescending or something like that about the group where it's just like, yeah, see what you did there. Urgh. So, it still happens, and it's unfortunate. But anyhow, enough of the travel stuff, unless there's some other old ladies that you pissed off. What else were you up to?
So there was one thing we learned as well. The fact that I worked in the corporate world before I went and did started doing my PhD means that when I got sponsored for my PhD, I got the higher pay rate, right? Because
Yes.
I kind of earned it because I've worked before. So a lot of people who went just through the education track are on the minimum tier of payment because as far as they're concerned, they didn't sacrifice a working life or higher benefits of wages to go into education like I did. I was on a good wage with HP, but what do I call them? Hewlett-Packard.
Yeah.
I was on quite a good wage, but then when I moved off into doing my PhD, obviously I was taking a cut. So they offered me a higher wage than a lot of other people doing the same thing as me, so that I would be satisfied. And because I already am a married man and all that, they saw me as more of a settled adult versus a growing up person who's still going through education, is still a student sort of thing. So because of that, we're not. It's difficult to say, but we're not like poor student anymore like I was a few years ago. We're
Gotcha.
well off enough that when we go on holiday, we can afford the slightly nicer places and stuff. So when we went to Tenerife, we got this lovely 5-star hotel, right? And plus, Tenerife isn't exactly the best economy in the world, so a 5-star hotel is actually affordable.
Yeah, it makes your dollar or your pound go a lot further.
It was like $1,000 for both of us for 5 days, right? Including
Wow.
flights.
Nice.
Which is really good in my opinion, right?
Yep.
But because of the fact it's a kind of higher price range than most people our age, we were the only
Younger.
we're probably the youngest
Yeah.
couple there.
Oh yeah.
We're in our mid-20s, right? And we're probably the youngest couple in Tenerife, and in this specifically this hotel, this resort we were at. So everybody there was usually 50 plus. Pretty much everybody there, apart from us. Which was fine. There was a bunch of kids.
It means you got to go cougar hunting, right? No.
Kind of the opposite, really, to be honest. We found when Kitten was walking around in her bikini, she's got pink hair just now as well,
yep.
right? And you can imagine, even when she was fully clothed, even just because she had pink hair more than anything, people would stare like, oh my god, look at this person, she's slightly different than everybody else here. And they'd stare at me as well, because I'm a young 20-something-year-old with a beard, right? I don't have wrinkles, I'm able to walk at a faster pace than other people. and they just stared at us like we were these crazy, weird aliens. Now, it's not as if we were wearing flamboyant clothing. It's not as if we were like getting wasted and rolling about the place. We were being kind of normal, really, other than the fact we were a different age. But people wouldn't stop staring. It was so weird. And I didn't expect that. But you know what? It was one of the best holidays ever, because being in that kind of resort meant that there was, other than, that one incident with the snidey old people, we had no problems at all the whole time. People were really polite. The only thing is they just love to stare. Really weird.
You two were just the two young, pretty people there. That was the challenge, right?
I guess.
Big, tall, hairy Scottish man and a little busty American
one
woman.
Other Scot the whole time we were there as well. One other Scot.
Any other Americans?
It's a British resort. There was all English people, some French, some German, but mainly English. So we probably got some stares due to our mixed accents as well, right? American and Scots. So we also went to a water park on Wednesday there, and as a result, I'm completely deaf in one ear.
Okay.
I don't know I don't even know why I have this in. I honestly can't hear out of it. I hear nothing. I have completely buggered my ear. I didn't even notice. It was fine until the next morning. I woke up and I was like, oh, that feels weird. What's going on here? Oh, I can't hear anything. Strange. So since then, I've tried shaking my head in case it's swimmer's ear, as they call it. I've tried jumping up and down. I've tried using 2 different types of spray. One which is made of 95% alcohol, ethanol, to try and dry it out. I tried one that's like a herbal thing that's supposed to relieve wax. I've tried using things in my ear that are specially for it. I've tried everything under the sun. I've tried oil. I've tried, I don't know. I've tried one thing recommended using a hairdryer. I've tried that. That didn't work either. I've been deaf since Wednesday.
Yeah, no, so those remedies only work for like when you have water in your ear or wax buildup or something like that?
It was after a water park, so I thought that would be it, you know? But I don't know what it is, so I'm gonna go see the doctor tomorrow, but right now it's freaking annoying. And I think one person that's more annoyed than me is Kitten, because she's sitting, whenever she sits to my right, I just don't hear her.
You can't hear her, and she's getting offended because she's like, damn it, pay attention to me.
Or all day today, when she's downstairs, she calls up to me like, do you want a cup of tea or something? And I'm just sitting here blindly, deafly, just carrying on, not noticing. And she comes up all annoyed, like, why are you ignoring me? I'm like, I'm deaf! I can't hear you!
And say, I am paying attention to you as much as I can.
Yeah, so that was freaking annoying. We went, but the good thing is that the reason for it as well is because I went on every single ride. I love water parks, it turns out. I don't like roller coasters and stuff, but man, do I love water parks. They're so much fun. I even tried, what was it? The Tower of Power, it was called.
Okay.
So it's this really, I'll see if I can find some details on it. So it's basically this really tall building. If you type in Siam Park, the Tower of Power, you can see a GoPro video of it. But it's pretty crazy. It's something like, I don't know, it's 28 meters high, and basically you lie down on this horizontal chute, and this woman teaches you to put your hands over in a sort of a dead man's position like this, like a coffin position. You cross your legs over, and you push your head back, and you have to do all these 3 things, which is kind of weird for a water park. Normally it's just like, hold on and you'll be fine. Hold on to this thing and you'll be fine. But no, this one had really weird precautions. No jewelry allowed, no watches, no bracelets, no t-shirts, nothing. Like, you could only go on just yourself and your swimming trunks. So I managed to get on, and you lay down, and you're looking up at the sky. The next second, this woman pushes you, and you're looking straight ahead because you're going vertical. You are looking straight ahead.
Oh, that's not that bad. That's just a speed slide.
Yeah, it is a speed slide. And as you go down, you go through this tube which goes through a shark tank.
That part's cool.
Yeah, so there are these sharks all around you, and then you splash, and you actually skim across the water at the bottom because you're going so fast, and then you eventually slow down. But I gotta say, I wasn't scared at all. None of these things intended to scare me. But as soon as... It was fine until I realized I was looking forward, and I felt myself falling.
Yep,
it wasn't a case of I felt myself, sliding. I felt myself falling, like a straight drop, vertical drop. Scary as hell. And when your heart goes into your mouth, I actually had that feeling. And I remember mouthing and saying to myself, oh, I honestly, it was so much fun. It was a total adrenaline dump. It was great. Was it worth the 20 minutes in the queue? Not really, but it was definitely good fun. So there was 3 tiers. There was green, amber, and red, right? That was a red. There was 4 other reds in the park, and I managed to get Kitten to go on all of them except for the Tower of Power.
See,
it was fantastic fun though.
This leads up to again, plans I'll have to make for KenCon, because we have a great water park here in town, our Water World, and it has so many good rides. Yes, we'll have to get you, because it has 3 speed slides sitting right next to each other that are like that, and one of them you get into it, and there's a tube right away, and you just kind of a nice gradual fall, and then it just kind of slowly goes down. into the full drop. The other, another one kind of goes out, drops a little bit, evens out again, and then drops. And then the third one, the one that most people are most afraid of and most want to queue up for, just like that, you just get on it and it drops you straight down. And they got a little more regulated about it, because when I first went out there and was scared of it, I used to go and get tense, kind of jump or go off it. But I watched at least one time where I was up there and a person walked, and instead of laying down or sitting down, he just walked right off and then dropped and caught the slide like a third of the way down and went through the whole thing. I was just like, oh my god, yeah, now that's a special kind of crazy.
That's dangerous is what that is.
Well, I mean, it's funny because it's still just a slide. And the thing I found for water parks, and especially for fast water slides, as long as you breathe out and relax and let your body just kind of go limp, it is all easy, because then you never lose contact with the slide, and you just kind of like down no matter how fast you go. And so that's been my answer to everything. But because of that, I now love those slides, and I have yet to find one that really gets me fast enough. So that's awesome. And I like that one going from like the pyramid under the shark tank and out the tube and such. But
cool.
It also looked like from the video it showed that there was a lazy river that maybe went under all of that.
Yeah, so the lazy river lets you see all the other attractions. And yeah, there's a part of the lazy river which you go... So there's a shark tank, and in the middle of the shark tank was a tube for that Tower of Power ride. Then underneath the shark tank, there's another tube that you can go down if you take the lazy river. But the lazy river is a really easy green ride. But there's a secondary route off the end that you can take if you want to, which me and Kitten did as well. Which, yeah, you slowly see the sharks above you. It's not scary. It's just like a, oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's a nice take a look kind of thing. Get out of the sun for a moment and just kind of wander about. Well, I mean, that's what lazy rivers are for. You kick back, you just close your eyes, pass out for a bit, and recover from everything else.
Yeah, exactly. We did it as the first one so we could actually like see everything else in the park and see what's going on, you know. But it was great fun. All the things were insane fun. At the last two reds, Kitten got kind of mad at me. She was like, I don't want to go on it. I'm scared. Don't make me go on it. You're making me. Don't guilt me. Don't guilt me. I was like, it won't be any fun without you, though. And she was like, fine. You owe me. And then she enjoyed it. So it was fine. There's this one called the Dragon as well. Oh man, it was crazy. I'd say it was scarier than the Tower of Power one. Because basically what you do is there's 4 people in this big blimp thing, and it starts off with you just sitting next to each other. With us, it was 2 strangers, and we all sort of nodded to each other like, we're gonna go through something together today, and it's gonna be scary. And it starts off with a little vertical drop, a little one, like 2 meters or something, just to pick up speed. Then you go through dark tunnels. Then there's neon lights all around you. Then you're suddenly sideways and vertical again. Then the other side, then vertical. And we're like, okay, if this is it, it's not too bad. I mean, you gotta hold on pretty tight, but it's not too bad. Then we went out into this full pipe, not a half pipe, and it was huge. It was like a chasm, and we were like halfway up one of them. And when you come out of that, the worst thing is, right? Somebody's gotta be facing backwards at all times. It was always me, the whole of this one thing. So I'd come out, and every time I'd look behind me like, what's going on here? And every time I'd see, like, across and then straight down, and it was terrifying. But it was so tough to hold on to, and I'm pretty sure if you let go of that thing, you're gonna get damaged. That looked really, really painful. I don't think it would be safe if you weren't in the blimp, or whatever you call it. So, but it was so much fun. Kitten she made the funniest face while we were going down, though. So, people's scared faces can be so wildly different, right?
Oh, yeah.
Some people are laughing. Some people look like genuinely just terrified, eyes wide. Kitten did this. If you're not watching the YouTube video, the YouTube
video stream, you're gonna miss
out.
out.
The show, you're missing out because this is where we do some visual gags here. But she did this the whole way down. She just looked mad, like angry.
Yeah, like
and
why are you doing this to me?
And I was screaming. I was like, woohoo! Just having the best time. And I look over to her and she just goes, I don't like it, Kenneth. Staring at me.
I can totally see that face. Because your wife
exactly
gets
what
such
she
a great like look on her face, her eyes,
Yeah.
when she just kind of puckers her face up and just.
Yeah.
I could
that's
totally
exactly
see her
what
do
it
it.
It was so funny. It was so funny. I wish I recorded that. But that was the water park. It was good fun. We did all the rides. I did every single one. It was good fun. The wave machine's also great fun. Siam Park is the #1 rated thing on TripAdvisor in the world right now. So it's pretty cool.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was pretty good. I really did enjoy it. Sorry, video while muting myself now. Okay, so what did I put this? Kitten is a scary cat. What does that mean?
Say, that's your note.
Kitten is a scary cat. What I wrote that because I thought I would understand it. Kitten is a
I love what you have for your own notes in your notes that you wrote, and you can't remember why.
I know. I thought
You'll have to
okay,
skip over
keep
that
reading
and
from
come
there.
back.
Yeah. So cactus. You know how? So in the U.S. you guys have lots of cactus and stuff all over the place.
We have a
right?
lot of hot, arid areas that have very pointy plant type things that people should not step on. Yes.
So obviously we've got none in Scotland. We have thistles, which are big plants, but we are just wide green areas, and that's it. We like if you see an area of dirt, it's man-made. Or an area of sand. It's a very small beach. Otherwise, it's green. Everything's green. So it's always weird to me to go to these countries where there are deserts because it's just such a foreign thing to me. It's so alien. Always cool, but whatever. So on our last day on Friday, there we went for a walk. We decided to walk away from our like safe resort where it's all free cocktails everywhere and all-inclusive free food everywhere, and there's people there to help you if you get lost, etc. And we went out into the wilderness. We went out into the actual Tenerife. There's no dangerous wildlife, no snakes, no tarantulas or anything like that. So I wasn't scared, even though normally I would be if there was. I'm a bit of a pussy with those kind of things. So we're walking around and we see these cactuses, right? And I make a joke of like, oh, if you're thirsty, dear, you should go and have some of the cactus fruit. And she's like, oh no, that's okay, you can actually do that. I was like, maybe in the US, but do you know the ecosystem here? Do you know the safety here? Do you know that? Maybe you checked this? Have you verified that? That might be poisonous, it might be, who knows, right? And she went, no, watch! Picked up this fruit, burst it open, licked her fingers with the juice and went, see, it's tasty! And then she squished it so that the bloody innards fell all over the path. And then she went, ow! So I go over, her hands are covered in little spindles, her lips are covered in spindles,
Oh no!
her tongue is covered in spindles, these tiny 1-inch, extremely thin little hairs. And she's like, this really hurts. I was like, yep, it would do. So I also got stung because I had to help her get this all out of her tongue and stuff. Her tongue gets these weird spots all over them. Like purplish, yellowish spots. And I was like, are you feeling okay?
Oh,
and she's like,
no.
oh, I feel fine, it's just sore. I was like, okay. And we got it was fine, but it was like, come on, dear, I just told you. Like, I just said, are you sure? She was like, yeah, it's fine. So that was pretty funny.
Yikes. So the problem there is, like, she's probably accurate in the sense that, yes, you can get moisture and drink out of it. The challenge is she didn't really pay much attention to properly extracting it in a safe way.
Well, it's more along the lines of, like, eating cactus fruit is the kind of thing you do if you're lost in the desert and you're dying of dehydration, right?
Emergency
it's
and
not
stuff like that.
something you do when you're next to our all-inclusive resort because you feel like it when you don't know the environment. That's the issue. So
Come on,
there's a time and a place to do that.
She was being all survivalist and such there, and being able to say, like, I could live off the land.
Yeah. So what else happened? Acrobats and knights. So we went to this medieval night. I've never been to these like medieval Renaissance theme park things.
Yes,
before.
did you get to eat like large sections of meat with your hands?
Yep, we got
Drink out of tankards.
Whole chicken each, tankards of mead and wine. We got this like bowl of like misc gravy that wasn't really gravy. I have no idea. I drank it all anyway. While these knights performed, it was awesome. Really impressive performance. They were properly. There was real swords, and while they were fighting, there was sparks flying off the swords. They were fighting on horseback. There was flames and fire everywhere. epic music, voiceovers. It was absolutely amazing. Proper dress, proper lighting. They built a castle for this. It was really cool, really well done. The whole thing was awesome. Again, remember what I said about the kind of age groups there, though?
Oh, yeah.
Kitten and I were the young ones, except for the kids and the, 40, 50-plus adults. So whenever the knights were, some of them would walk through the audience on occasion as part of the show, handing out roses. Guess who kept getting all the winks and the little smiles and the roses and the flowers? It was my lovely beauty. She was the focus of all of these literal knights in shining armors. People who, I can't stand up to these guys. These are like toned, handsome men, literally off of horseback on all white steeds with swords in hand and all shining armor. Like there's nothing. I can't compete. So I just hold her tight, like.
Yeah. Go away. She's mine.
My kitten. Should have brought my sword with me to defend my wife. But it was an amazing performance, really fun. And then afterwards, there was this random acrobatic show in the main King's Hall. So we were like, yeah, all right, let's go watch that as well. The whole thing was about 110 euros, which is something like 95 pounds, which is something like 170 bucks, right? So it was quite an expensive thing, but it was definitely worth it. Amazing performance. So these acrobat guys, they do I don't know what kind of style of dancing it is. Do you know Eddie from Tekken?
So the key was, and from the dress I saw in the video, I was going to ask you because it looked like they were doing capoeira.
Yeah,
which is the martial art, Brazilian martial art / dance type thing. Yep.
That sounds right to me. Yeah. It was absolutely. These guys were really fit, really toned, really strong, and they could standing on the spot. They can do backflips, forward flips, side flips where they barrel roll in the air, amazing stuff. And they do it over each other, around each other. Really impressive. And they did it comically, so the audience was laughing while they were doing certain things, right? So anybody who hasn't seen the video on Facebook, feel free to friend me. I don't really care. I'll share the Show X page actually, where Kitten is again being the pretty girl at the front of the audience. She got called up first onto the stage to take part in the dancing,
wearing quite a cute little dress.
Cute little dress with a very short skirt on it. Yes, and she's all dolled up and looking her best. And yeah, so again, she took a shining to these. Again, 4 or 5 lovely tanned, extremely good-looking, extremely toned men, and I'm just sitting there with my big beer belly going, damn it. And yeah, so she keeps getting the winks and the attention throughout the show, and then at the end they do this dance where they bring on the girls and the kids and the good-looking women onto the stage. So of course she's first up, and it's all good fun, funny, and at the very end. They do this thing where they get everybody to get into a circle, and she's holding hands with this one of the dancers, right? And then there's a line of other girls who come up on the stage, all in a circle holding hands, and they all start twerking. They start shaking their ass, and so this one of the other dancers goes over to me because obviously he knows that I was Kitten's husband, and he waves at me and points at Kitten, and so I'm like, okay, and I'm videoing this, and I point and I zoom into Kitten. And the dancer that's holding Kitten's hand and this other dancer go up behind her when she doesn't notice, and they start fake
shaking their faces, kind of like
yeah, and so and then she sort of turns around and notices, and the whole audience laughs, right? And I'm just sitting there like, oh, that's really funny, and that's my wife.
I was curious. I was curious how your reaction to that whole situation would have been, because it was entertaining as heck to watch. Because at the same time, Kitten was very aware of how short her dress was. Yes, the skirt on it, and she did a good job maintaining it.
I'm just gonna be jealous, right? I can't help that. I'm sitting there one hand grabbing tight onto my chair, and the other one sort of clapping away. Oh, that's funny. Bare end suiting though. But no, it was all good fun. I did enjoy it, and I think she enjoyed it as well. It was good fun. So last thing, it was a great holiday. I'm sad I missed Guy Fawkes night. I regret making the booking during the 5th of November, because in Britain it's a big holiday because that's when
over
Guy
here
Fawkes,
it's nothing.
Yeah, that's when Guy Fawkes attempted to blow up Parliament
And take out the king at the time, right?
It's to take out the entire Parliament, actually. So yeah, the whole government would have been there. They were during session, so but he didn't manage to set off the fuse in time before he got caught. So it was amazing, and we celebrated because it's sort of thinking our entire history would have been in fact, yours also would have been massively changed if this guy succeeded. If government was overthrown and anarchy took place, imagine what would have happened with all of the Crown's constituencies around the world and in our own country. Would have been absolutely crazy change in the entire history of mankind. So it's just, we sort of reflect and look back as whether it's a good thing that he failed or a bad thing. So, you know, some people take it differently. Some people say it's obviously, yeah, monarchy. Some people are pro-Britain. Other people are like, oh, pro-anarchy and all that. London was actually filled with anarchists. Hundreds of people took to the streets and were wearing Guy Fawkes masks, also known as anonymous masks these days, with anarchy signs. And there was like some riot police there and some conflict. But it was never, in my opinion, it's nothing that serious. It's a few thousand. A few thousand isn't that big. That's not that impressive nowadays. And that's a stupid cause anyway. Overthrowing an entire government's excessive when we still have a democracy. So, you know, it's a stupid thing in my opinion, but whatever. So I'm sad I missed it because there's lots of fireworks, bonfires, usually get good food shows, like carnival food and stuff. So I'm sad I missed that. But other than that, that's been my whole week. It's been really fun. Can't wait to go back. I think we want to do this every year, every 2 years.
Nice.
Go on to like a sunny, all-inclusive, lazy holiday where we just sunbathe, swim, enjoy some shows, go to water parks, and just relax. Because I haven't had a day off since the start of my PhD, and a week off was well earned, in my opinion. So.
And sounds like you.
Same with Kitten.
Sounds like you treated it well, and even the video I saw where Kitten posted one saying how much you enjoyed having an all-inclusive resort to go to, including drinks that were not just a double or a triple, but essentially an entire glass of nothing but liquor. I believe you were having rum at the time. But
yeah, so there was certain, I think like 9 out of 10 of all the drinks behind the bar were part of the all-inclusive. So as long as we had the band on, we could get free drinks anytime of the day, whenever we want. Same with food. Like, you want a chicken? Here's a chicken. Do you want a cocktail? Do you want a mojito? Do you want a pina colada? No problem. Here you go. And I mean like proper stuff. They'd get the real 40% rum, and they'd pour.
Yeah.
They didn't do measures like we do in the UK. We're obliged by law to do like one-shot measures, and it has to be specifically 25 milliliters, etc.
Ha!
But they're just like, nah, just say when. It's brilliant. And yeah, we also found later on in the week that they also did honey rum, which is
that's what it was.
25%, beautifully tasting. I've got 2 bottles downstairs that we brought back with us actually. Really, really tasty, and you get like a quadruple measure. You know, you get a quadruple measure of 1 glass. So that's effectively the same as 2 shots of rum, two shots of normal rum. And I was drinking this every like 5-10 minutes, one of these 4 shots of glass. So on Tuesday, I was gone. I was so drunk. And I rarely get drunk, but it was amazing. Kitten really enjoyed seeing that for a nice change. We were so spoiled. We lacked the presence of luxury. So good. So good.
Nice.
Highly recommend all-inclusive holidays to Tenerife. Oh my god. Awesome fun.
No, that sounds
sorry,
amazing. I am jealous because that would be a wonderful time. Although I have to say, I am tempted. I could, and I don't think I should, which is a challenge I run into. A friend of mine invited me to go with he and his wife down to Mexico because he's never been, but they found a deal on a Groupon, essentially, or something like that, it was something like $400, including everything, flight, hotel, and everything for like 4 nights. Is there 3 or 4 nights? No, for like $3.99 a person, and I want to say it was all inclusive, and someplace in Cabo, and I'm just kind of like, but it's a short notice flight, and so it would be like the end of this month, and I'm kind of thinking like, I have not budgeted my time off or my money for that. I mean, I could do it, but darn, that would be tough, and so part of me is kind of like, yeah, I should do that. That'd be awesome. part of me is like, I probably shouldn't do something like that because, I need to, like, save money and pay bills. But I haven't decided yet. I'm just like, but it's so tempting, and hearing stories about how much fun you had and things makes me think, that would be nice.
Yes, it would. I'm willing to go out myself, actually. So, if anybody's willing to donate £1,000 or so for a holiday for me and Kitten again for next week, we'll probably take it. Well, I wouldn't say
you
no.
wouldn't be adverse. Yeah, exactly.
But man, Kitten she was honestly nearly in tears upon leaving because she loves the sun, especially because she misses it because obviously we don't get any sun. It's always wet here.
Exactly.
Always cloudy, and she's missed the sun. She's missed the climate. She's missed the temperature. She just really enjoyed it, and she was so sad in leaving that she almost in tears. She was like, "It was such a good holiday. I don't want to go back."
Oh, that is good though. That means it was a brilliant time. So that's good to hear.
Yeah.
Well, good. Oh, jeez, what the heck is that?
That's Kitten's new purse. She's in love with it.
That's a purse? I was gonna think it looked like a creepy ass mask.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, seriously, I was like, no. That or I thought you were
That's
playing
terrifying.
with one of your little camera trick things that you like to do. I wasn't sure what you were doing with that. So very cool, and that sounds like a heck of a good time, and I am quite jealous. I would like to say that I had an equally fun and amazing non-geeky week this week, but I can't. Essentially, when it comes down to it, it's now after the holidays that I care about. It's after all the fun and parties I care about. And so I am in the stage of I need to clean my house and put things back in order. Slowly take down my Halloween decorations that make me feel bad because it's like, yes, Halloween's been more than a week away, but darn it, I like it. And so I have to pull down all my like scary decorations and wall clings and put them all back in a bin and downstairs. So essentially, I'm going to be doing a lot of cleaning over the next week or two now that I don't have anything taking all my time up. So that'll be good. But with that,
you'll be happy to get back to it, I'm sure, to have a nice clean house again.
It will be very nice. So with that, I'm going to actually break our flow just a little bit and go to a break early, play a song, and we'll come back with some geek cred since I don't have anything non-geeky this week, and it'll give us a little more time to transition into news and things like that. So, with that, I'm going to play one of our mix songs that we like. This one's the only pony song I have that Ken doesn't dislike.
Discord.
And from that, we'll be back after this. See you all in about 3.5 minutes or so. You're listening to Show X, and we'll be right back. Hopefully that's alright.
Send in your emails to showx@vtwproductions.com.
Fan of puppeteers, but I've a nagging fear someone else is pulling out the strings. Something terrible is going down through the entire town, wreaking anarchy and all it brings. I can't sit idly, no, I can't move at all. I curse the name, the one behind it all. Discord, I'm howling at the moon and sleeping in the middle of a summer afternoon. Discord, whatever did we do to make you take our world away? Discord, are we a prey alone, or are we just a stepping stone for taking back the throne? Discord, we won't take it anymore, so take a tyranny away. I'm fine with changing status quo, but not in letting go. Now the world is being torn apart. A terrible catastrophe, played by a symphony. What a terrifying work of art. I can't sit idly, no, I can't move at all. I curse the name, the one behind it all. Discord, I'm howling at the moon and sleeping in the middle of a summer afternoon. Discord, whatever did we do to make you take our world away? Discord, are we a prey alone, or are we just a stepping stone for taking back the throne? Discord, we won't take it anymore, so take a tyranny away. sleeping in the middle of a summer afternoon. Discord, what havoc did we do to make you take our world away? Discord, are we a prey alone, or are we just a stepping stone for taking back the throne? Discord, we won't take it anymore, so take your tyranny away.
It seems a little strange, but I just can't explain why I'm tearing out a page and then I'm sending it out over the ocean. And I've been feeling down lately, ever since I met you, baby. People say I'm acting crazy. They say that I'm over emotional. Yeah, there's something wrong in my mind. Yeah, there's something wrong in my mind. Yeah, there's something wrong. Well, now everybody says it's fine, but I can't say it seems very funny to me. People come and go, and I know now that you know. Check the noises in my throat. Say I'll take however long that it takes me. I can't understand why I need to be your man. I had the perfect plan, but right now I guess it all escapes me. Yeah, there's something wrong in my mind. Yeah, there's something wrong in my mind. Yeah, there's something wrong. Well, now everybody says it's fine, but I can't say it seems very funny to me.
You're listening to Show X on BTWProductions.com.
Hey everybody, and we're back, and this time it is ready for us to get into a little bit
I'm a
of...
geek. Are you a geek? Geek cred level up!
On today's Geek Cred, as we have both refreshed our drinks and are ready to continue on with this show. Ken, what do you have that's geeky this week, since I know I've got a bit?
Yeah, I've got a fair bit of things we can discuss and talk about. Obviously, I didn't do much while I was away. I did start reading a new book. I can't remember the name of it, so I'm not going to talk about it. Fallout Shelter, I've been playing a fair bit. I finished the getting up to 200 population, the max population, like a month ago. And since then, I've been focusing on building more rooms and stuff, and trying to work out what I should do with the space I have left, and also trying to unlock more legendary characters and legendary weapons and outfits. And also trying to raise the stats of all the dudes in my vault up to max on everything, as well as their level. which has been pretty tough to do, I gotta say. I originally just had one training room of each type, then I had 2, now I have 4, and I still have loads of space left at the very bottom of my shelter. So, and what I'm concerned about is I may have a lot of, this may speed up how quickly I can train everybody, but it means once everybody's trained up to max, what am I going to do with all those rooms? But the thing is, even when they're all at max, if I replace those rooms with, like, useful ones that need workers, 200 is not enough workers. 200 is not enough workers to be able to do every single room as it is. So, you know, what's the point in all the extra space? I'm struggling to understand the need for it.
You probably don't need it.
For. But then why is it there? It doesn't make sense. Why
So
did
the
they
whole
give us the
point
ability to build
is, well,
more?
okay, because here's the thing, right? Not everyone builds rooms probably as efficiently as engineer types like yourself.
That's possibly true.
So, and there's people who like to build things that are a little more eclectic or artistic or things like that, where I would argue that you don't ever need to use probably the bottom half of the space that is provided when you do that. I mean, I think the one thing you could maybe do is build a shelter that like had elevators all the way down and start from the bottom up, which would severely reduce the ability for death claws and stuff like that to like make it deeper into your rooms. And
That's
just
a good
like,
idea. I've already set up perfectly. They're not a problem anymore. I don't need to heal anybody anymore. I've got all I have is 6 dudes with max stats at the very top, wearing power armor. Even if they don't need it, they could be naked and do just as good because they're already max stats. And they have these weapons that are all like 20 plus damage, like insanely powerful weapons. Death claws come. If a raider walks into one of them, the raider gets blasted into nothing in seconds. Death claws takes 2 rooms worth, and that's about as fast as it can be, I guess, because I can't improve them anymore. So, but don't worry, I've got that sorted. That is very efficient. I've already got my defense down to a T. But yeah, what I did is I deleted one of my first elevators so that they had to go through the whole floor, so that they had to go through these specific guys who are like top of the league, and then they just wreck them every time. But yeah, so I'm still enjoying Fallout Shelter. It's now just a game of maths, just like Clicker Heroes is to me. It's just a game of me playing around with stats and percentages and efficiencies and detrimental returns and stuff and all that kind of thing. So I'm enjoying it. Diminishing returns, sorry. I'm enjoying it. It's good fun, and it's not really a game, just like you said, it's a screensaver. I wanted to play Hearthstone, but I've not had the chance to because I've had no internet while I was in Tenerife, so that was a shame. Which was weird. I looked back on my internet on Thursday for the first time and had 70 Facebook notifications and 45 emails.
What?
I was like, geez, I should check these more. And they're almost all work-related emails. I was like, you know I'm on holiday. Stop sending me these emails. Come on.
that never happens. Nope.
Oh,
Nope.
so annoying. I haven't played MGS since I got back, but I will. I do plan to. Because I've instead been playing 2 other games. Civilization 5, but with mods. Because I found... So I had a bunch of mods that were installed,
Did you
and I never actually went to go...
Did you finally put in this Celestial mod? The actual, like, you know, make it pretty and pony?
No.
Oh, well, okay, then I'm...
What I did do is I did Skyrim mods, first of all. Then I tried World of Warcraft mods, so you could have pretty much every race in World of Warcraft, all the Alliance and all the Horde, which is pretty cool. And then each one had their own, like, things they're good at and things they're bad at. And their own unique units, and some of them had visual stuff, which was pretty cool. Then I tried the Avatar Last Airbender stuff. So that's when I was playing mostly, actually. That was probably the best done one, weirdly enough, I thought. So you can go the 4 nations. You can go fire, earth, water, or air, right? And it's funny, I've noticed that they must have made the AI intentionally that way. Fire Nation is kind of bustly and doesn't want to be everybody's friend. But air and water, and I was earth, but air and water were continually like, hey buddy, do you want to trade? You want to be friends? Let's ally.
That's funny.
It was cool, but I got towards the end game and realized that the AI was good for personality, bad for
Gaming?
being an AI. Yeah. They didn't progress it didn't make any new cities or anything, I eventually realized. I thought Fire Nation was going to descend on everybody at one point and be like a bid. I thought that because it was a scenario, it wasn't just a mod. This is actually a scenario.
Gotcha. Okay.
But no, they were crappy. And at one point, I went to war with Fire Nation because I was bored. Or sort of forgot about the fact I was at war. did nothing to them. Then 10 turns later, they gave me one of their cities because they were scared of me. I didn't even do anything. I was like, what are you doing, Fire Nation? You suck. You suck. I've also, but one I really want to talk about was I played Killing Floor last night with Kuro.
Okay.
So I wanted to play some games. Kitten was like, "Yeah, we've seen each other a lot this week. Let's go do our own thing." I was like, "Definitely, that sounds good." I like gaming. So Sam played some Killing Floor too, and I'd like to do a mini review, a mini review.
Oh, interesting. Very good.
So I've not played enough of it to give it a real review, in my opinion. I think to do it, you need at least like 100 hours in a game like this. I've got 2 hours, so it's not. It's definitely not real. First of all, is Steam Workshop linked already? That's brilliant. For a relatively new game that's already allowed to work with Workshop, that's brilliant. That's the way it should be. Mods are awesome, and that means that you can host your own servers and have your own special mods and have special servers that do special things. So you can have your My Little Pony server. To kill them, of course. We ended up playing a general survival game on normal difficulty on a random server somewhere, and I first off wanted to play support. So that was the class that I really enjoyed in the original Killing Floor. It's basically just shotguns, and you are a sort of welder. So you go around welding
Shoring
doors,
everything up, yeah.
so that the zombies couldn't get through. So it was a bit of a tactical role. Plus, I loved going. Not so. The way that the pricing system works in the weapons is you generally assume with most games the more expensive the better, right? So with the support role, the best is usually the AA-12 shotgun. So it's an automatic shotgun that you just go. Pow, 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 pow.
Yep.
And it's good. Problem with it for me is it does good damage, but it's not the highest. The highest damage is a double barrel shotgun.
But it has
barrels
the
at once.
Yeah, but that's got the longer reload to the next time you can shoot it kind of effect.
Yeah, but that, in my opinion, that's what support role is. Support role is not to be consistent damage. That's what DPS is for. What you want the support role to do is say, "Oh crap, you've got the boss on your back. Don't worry, I've got you. Both barrels, mother boop." You know, you want to be able to be the difference. You're not there to fight off the hordes. You're there to fight off the big guys. That's what I see the support role as.
Gotcha.
So I decided to do that. So I started playing that, and I gotta say though, they must have really nerfed that gun because normally whenever I played the original Killing Floor, I did that role, and I'm pretty good at support. I'm pretty good at doing that role. Like, I know where to stand, I know who to be near, I know how to weld the doors properly, which ones to go for. I know how to like save people from the big bad guys. But I gotta say, normally I'd be the highest kills because what I do is I look for either big ass groups. So that when I unloaded my shotgun, I'd take out a good 7 at least per reload, you know, at once. So every like 5 seconds I'd take out 14. Every 10 seconds I'd take out 28. That kind of, so I'd get really good kills stats, right? I ended up doing a round with like 15 kills, and I was like, what's going on here? This is weird. So I think they've nerfed it massively so that the pricing structure makes more sense, and and I didn't like that. So I moved away from that. I decided to go more support, but that's not support. I went medic.
Oh,
so I tried that out.
Healer.
And I absolutely love the way they've done the medic class. In the first game, it was just basically you're a healer that can sometimes do a bit of damage. That was the entire basis of it. In this game, it's more every single healer gun has the base healing capability where if you middle click while facing a player, you basically shoot a trank dart at them. It's not a trank.
No, it's the kind of role that Cuppy would love, to be able to shoot healing bullets of love at you.
That's effectively what it is. It's like a single shot with a little bit of a cooldown where you heal somebody for a large amount as a dot, effectively. So that was fine. But the great thing is, I thought it was just the original starting pistol that would do that, and the other ones would like do a spray maybe of healing darts or something.
You wanted to be able to spray that healing love everywhere?
Yeah, exactly. And you also have healing grenades, by the way, which also hurts the enemies somehow, which is cool. So that's your AOE heal, and your single is your any of your guns. But that's the amazing thing. You can get any of the medic guns, and there's different types. You have the SMG healer gun. So you can fill that role if you want to. You can get the shotgun support role, so that shoots a trank healing thing as well as being a shotgun, and you get the rifle sort of gun. So no, sorry, not a rifle. Is it a rifle?
Assault rifle,
sort of machine gun rifle.
Yeah.
An assault rifle, I should say. So you could, it's a bit more longer range and less recoil. So you could really be the medic, but it's more of a side thing, and you're still there as somebody with a gun, but you just need to pay attention to healing. That's the way medics should be. That's the way in the army you would be if you were the medic in the position. If you're in the medic in a team, and you're in a fire team, in a squad or whatever, right? Say 16 people, 8 people, 4 people. You'd have one medic who is just a normal soldier, but fills the role of medic when required. As it should be. That makes sense. It's efficient. Rather than just have the guy who's running around with healing stuff and just stands there doing nothing when they're getting swarmed over by enemies. No, he should be shooting something. And it allows you to do the kind of role you enjoy, as well as being the healer. So you can be the support, you can be the commander, you can be... I love it. It's brilliant. They really did that perfectly well, and I'm thoroughly enjoying the medic role. I'm looking forward to going and playing that again, because I'm both required and helpful to the team, and I had a good amount of kills. Like, I was up there in the top 3 occasionally, out of like 8 people or whatever, which I was happy with. As a medic, that's pretty good. I was pretty proud of that. There's a new boss in the game, so at the end of Killing Floor, whenever you got to the end of the waves, there'd be the final boss. And the final boss is basically this dude who can go invisible. He would appear randomly near you and do loads of damage, and you gotta shoot him down while you see him. He was pretty annoying. But he was... I think I failed maybe 3 times out of the 100 or so games I failed in the original Killing Floor. So far, me and Kuro killed him twice, and we failed twice. Which is, in my opinion, the way it should be. You don't want it to be just a face roll. You know, it's boring.
No, you need to actually have some difficulty.
Yeah, this guy doesn't just go to invisible either. He just chases people. If you get in melee range of him, he slices you down. So if you're being the Berserker melee class, you gotta back off occasionally, because when he turns around to face you, you run away. If you're being the healer and you're trying to heal the guy that he's attacking, you gotta be careful, because he throws these like gas grenades, nerve gas, that hurts you massively, so you gotta stay out of the fire as well. So there's multiple elements to it. And also occasionally he spawns zombies that you don't really notice because they're not continual. So occasionally these are dudes who come up behind you and you'd be like, oh crap, there's like 7 guys behind me and I'm reloading, you know? And it really adds an element to the game. And just like, the only problem is it's the same fight every time. It'd be nice if they had some random elements to it, so that occasionally you were caught off guard, so that once you learn the formula it's a bit different, you can still be challenged.
I mean, just for the boss himself, right?
Yeah. But overall, I gotta say, the graphics is amazing, the atmosphere is beautiful. The first level I ever did was in Paris. It's called Paris Falls or something. And it's basically, you start off and you walk around, it's just a general city block that's obviously been like zombie apocalypse, blood everywhere kind of thing. And then you get to this one opening scene next to this sort of dock, this bay, and you look over into the distance and you see the Eiffel Tower sort of broken in several pieces but still together, sort of hinged over, and all the buildings on the horizon are on fire, and so is the Eiffel Tower.
Oh, wow.
It's beautiful and horrible and amazing. And you just like, I think everybody who's played the game just sort of stopped and went, wow. Like, they spent time making this a piece of art, not just a game. Killing Floor 1 was a good game, and don't get me wrong, I loved it, but there was no... The atmosphere was just kind of basic, dark zombie stuff. This one really makes you go, wow, apocalypse. Actual apocalypse. The customizations are much higher in this game. You can, as you level up your class by playing it, you unlock a little bit more expertise, so you get more damage with that class's weapons, say, or better healing, or more armor, or whatever. But you also get to customize it for your loadouts as well, so you can start off with different guns and the likes. You can also unlock different character skins and stuff, and as far as what I can see, you don't pay for them yet. In the original Killing Floor, there's DLC packs where you pay for them. I don't mind that. That's skins. Skins, if they're paid for.
Yeah, skins don't matter. Skins are just something for aesthetics, especially if you're not buying a $60 game.
I mean, Killing Floor 2 is quite. I wouldn't say it's cheap, but it's a good price. It's like £25, $35 or whatever, right now on Steam. Which, in my opinion, is a good game and worth that. So the fact that they're not also expecting you to get DLC skins is nice, really, at least at the moment. I'm sure they'll come out with that in the future, though. And finally, the music is hardcore, heavy metal. There's not really screamo, it's just like heavy guitar, fast-paced. And I gotta say, a couple times I've been scared. I was a couple times I got cut off from the team as the medic, or when I was welding some doors as the support.
Gotcha.
And I'd be like, oh, where did my team go? If you see them, their health bar and their name appears straight away.
Yeah.
But as soon as you lose line of sight, that's the way it should be done as well. The first game, it was just a distance thing, so you can still see them through walls. Useful, but not realistic. I like this so much more. You gotta keep an eye on your team, because if they just turn a corner, you might think they went the opposite direction and then lose them completely. And it really adds in the requirement for communication and our teamwork. And it's some more coordination in the likes. Really fun element. Really, they've clearly learned from the mistakes and the problems of the first game and made it a really good game. I'd give this a good 9 out of 10. I could see myself putting hundreds of hours into this game. The only thing I can say is I don't see any DLC on the horizon. I might be wrong.
Well, you say that, but how many game types, how many maps, stuff like that does it have at the get-go? Because if it
Not
doesn't,
too many. Not too many. Quite minimal amounts right now. I think there's 8 maps or something. But I think there used to be the ability to customize and make your own maps. I don't know if there still are. That's still there. It should be though. But overall, great game. Highly recommend it. If you have it, come jump in and join us. I'll be playing tonight after the show because I love the game and I want to make most of my free time. Last of my holiday today, doing something I enjoy. Drinking honey rum and playing Killing Floor sounds like something I would enjoy doing.
It does sound like a very nice time, in fact.
Indeed. So come join us in the game tonight. It'll be good fun. But with that, that's been my Weekend Geek, I believe. We're doing quite good for time.
Well, that is good, because that gives me plenty of time to come in to talk about my week. So, let's see. What do I got? So, I'm trying to order it appropriately, because I do want to talk about games as well, but I want to start off with experience. And that is that I got to try out my costume again this weekend, yesterday, with going to another convention. So this one was just a small local convention called Rocky Mountain Con. I don't know what year it is for this convention. It's at least the second, maybe third or fourth, not sure. But it was definitely one of the smallest conventions I've been to. Not the smallest, but one of the smaller ones. I don't know what the attendance was, but it took place at one of the hotels that a lot of cons have started at. But instead, where other cons have kind of rented out multiple rooms of the convention, this one really just got one. And it was odd because they had essentially the dealer hall, the artist alley, the kind of normal things you have at a convention, as well as the main hall where people will have panels and talk about things. All were in one room together, which, while made it convenient to really go around and make sure you saw everybody, it also made it a bit odd where it made it difficult to hear some things, stuff like that, and everything like that. But it was a fun convention. Really, the reason I wanted to go more than anything, because otherwise I probably would have skipped this one, is that both my friend MikeMike, who game with and came to my party and stuff like that, and has been around for a long time, as well as our friend of the show, La Camp-et, El Campo's daughter, had worked on costumes that I've talked about recently, how I helped Camp-et make her first, essentially, cosplay. And so this was an opportunity where, it's funny, MikeMike is notorious for making amazing costumes and doing really good jobs with them for Halloween, but has never been to a convention. And Leela is young enough that this is her first time getting into things like anime and stuff like that to actually have an opportunity to go to a convention. So with both of them, I said, well, this is a great time to try it out because this is such a small, easy con to go to. So few people. It'll be a fun experience without having to be too overwhelming. You know, not going your first convention to like Denver Comic Con or something where you have to deal with tens of thousands of people. But yeah, so got them together, went out to this convention, and we all got dressed up. I did my garter belt again, added a little bit more to it. One of my favorite things is that for the first time ever of me sewing and making a costume, I added pockets. I learned how to, just out of engineering more than anything. Didn't look up any tutorials or anything like that. I just decided, you're giving me a face because you're like, what? Most costumes, when people make them, unless you're using actual pre-built clothing, you know, pants that you would normally have, or you're carrying a bag or something like that, it's amazing how you sometimes forget little things like having somewhere to store all of your things, like your keys, your phone, your wallet. And in cosplay, that's
a million
always a
women
problem.
out there can attest and agree with you there with dresses.
Right? Well, it's funny, right? Why don't more dresses not have like at least a pocket in them for ID, cash, and credit card? Even that much, right? It's like golf pants. Guys have it in golf pants. They have a little pocket that's not only like 2 or 3 inches wide with a tiny zipper, that you can throw things in, zip up, totally discreet. You don't even see. It's flat and completely you can hold anything in. Heck, but then there is, most women's clothes don't allow you to even hold things in their pockets. They're just decorative. But
Yeah.
with as a guy, you know, I'm used to carrying my things in my pockets. I don't have a purse, I don't have a bag, something like that, and it sucks with my costumes. I have to carry a separate bag. So in this one, I just randomly, I took my robes that I had made for the garter belt, and on the side, I just ripped some of the seam out, and then folded over, and just through grabbing some other material, and like I sewed just a pocket on the side. Like took 2 pieces of fabric, put them together, sewed around it, and left a little corner open. Measured it to equal the size of the hole I had ripped. And the only thing I did different was I was going to try to attach it straight, but that would have made it not hang right, so I cut it at an angle. And so it kind of hung at a 45. And then I put it in, and the first time I sewed one of the seams, I kind of did it the other backwards. I learned that all I had to do was turn the pocket inside out and turn the robe inside out, and then sew them both on the inner side and push it all back in and sew at the edges. And all of a sudden I had what basically is a nice professional pocket with the seams all nice and smooth and stuff like that. And I was just like, huh, well that worked. And so I made one that fit basically my keys and cash and stuff like that and wallet real easy. And the other one I made almost like this massive pouch that fit my phone, my DS, and like in this costume I ended up taking my Bible as a prop. And at one point I think I was able to fit that in there as well. Now it was heavy and that pocket kind of made me lean to the side, but so convenient. And just it was like me leveling up in my sewing ability to just come up with, not only in this costume as a whole, did I do things like adding my first zipper out of nowhere, just like, I need a way to put this thing over my head when it's tied around my neck. I know, I'll cut a V in the back and just put a zipper there.
That's impressive, dude.
And it
That's
worked.
really impressive.
And even my collar that I cut, one of my other friends that I met there, or saw there, who's a cosplayer and does a lot of stuff, looked at mine and was like, I don't even know how you did that. And I was like, really? I don't either. I kind of like was fumbling with the collar for multiple iterations, and eventually I just said, screw it, cut some fabric, started sewing, and it came out. And I really wasn't sure if it was going to work. I thought I might have to keep cutting and retrying it, but it just worked. I was like, huh, okay, that'll go. And other people kind of looked at it like, wow, that's really good. So somehow I leveled up in my ability to sew, which was quite nice. Anyhow, while at the convention, as small as it was, La Camp-et came as kind of a goth Lolita cat girl with a costume that she had put together and was quite nice, and got a lot of photos taken of her. She really wasn't sure. It was a picture she had drawn herself, just based on kind of the anime Black Butler, so it kind of had a dark theme to it, mostly black, kind of goth. And so she just kind of came up with her own costume, drew, and I helped her make it. Mike, and one of the reasons I've always told him he needed to go to cons, he came by in a full Kakashi Sensei outfit from Naruto, where he had done the whole outfit, the vest that he bought somewhere that was perfectly accurate, headband. He did work on one piece of it himself, not just mine, which was the wig. He went through like 2 or 3 wigs to get it right, where one of them he just tried to cut, did not work. The next one he got was like a rocker one. He was able to manipulate it. He got the contact that he needed for the Sharingan, and he also did a scar and everything. So he really looked the part. And he got as a prop a little notebook that's empty, but the cover of it is essentially the book that Kakashi Sensei is always reading. That's kind of a pervy novel. And so he had that, and so as Kakashi was walking around just having the book out, kind of thing, and the people that saw the costume lost it. And he had never been to a con, right? So he wasn't sure what it'd be like. He had at least 3 or 4 girls, and this is a tiny convention. I know if he'd gone to like NDK or Comic-Con, he would have had far more. But at least 3 or 4 girls came up to him just like squeed. They just lost it, where they were like,
Oh, that's great.
Kakashi Sensei, can I please get a picture with you? And it's funny, you could tell at first because he really didn't know how to pose with them or what to do. I kind of talked him through some. He did all right. If he did it again in the future, we would have done a few other things. But for the most part, he did good. It's funny to hear him just kind of talk like, okay. And stuff where I could see he was new. But they both had a good time. That was a lot of fun. Also at the con, as small as it was, I got to see a lot of people that I know. And some that I hadn't seen for a little while because I didn't go to any a lot of local cons. I missed the big ones during the summer, and I only went to a couple in the spring, Starfest and AnomalyCon. And so it's been almost a year since I'd seen some of my friends. But I ran into my favorite couple, Jesse and Laura, the ones that cosplay, essentially they do now both DC characters, Superman and Wonder Woman. And, they're both models, and they're gorgeous. And Laura had just remade her Wonder Woman costume with all leather this time, and just looked remarkable. Got to take some photos of them, seeing them, always fun. Ran into one of my good friends I hadn't seen for far too long, my friend Charisse. younger gal, but a really great cosplayer. And I'm hoping that I can talk her into going to like a out-of-state con next year, because she needs to spread her wings a little and get away from what she's traditionally cosplayed to do some more like crazy costumes, and she has the ability. The other one I wanted to mention, kind of quick, before I switch over to talk games, is that there were a few famous people there, authors and several famous cosplayers and stuff like that. But there were 2 actresses that were there, one of which I had recognized when I saw the picture initially, and the other one I thought I recognized but didn't really pay attention until I was there and kind of, wait a second, I keep seeing that name and she looks damn familiar. Let me look it up. Well, the first gal, this is for old sci-fi geeks, but Gigi Egley was at the con. And most people probably won't recognize her name because she's mostly done side things and smaller projects, but she got famous for being the gray gal. It's like Chandra, something like that. Everyone called her Pip on the show. On Farscape, on the sci-fi show Farscape. And quite a lovely gal, I will tell you. And seeing her today, years later, still quite a lovely gal. And I will tell you, a fit gal. She's wearing like a sleeveless shirt, and she had some guns on her. Where I was just like, wow,
Really?
holy cow. Yeah, she looked quite fit, quite amazing. Neat to see her. It's weird, too, because I always say I don't know if I do well or not with famous people. I just kind of acknowledge they exist, like, hey, you're cool. You're the one who did that thing I like. Awesome. Keep doing that. But it's not like I've studied them or gone fanboy enough to be able to say, like, oh my god, are you coming out with a new project? Because I don't, great, entertain me. I love it, but I don't, like, follow one person in their career.
Yeah.
I was more jazzed meeting, like, Leo Laporte and kind of like, because of the work he does and kind of things like that in podcasting than I have been with most stars.
I don't think you're supposed to like go mental with.
Oh, well, it's not even
I think
mental,
you're
though,
supposed to be passive.
But I've seen a lot of people who go mental, and the stars seem to like it. But mental in a positive, I'm a fan way.
Sure.
Where, again, my thing is
So,
more,
I think
I'm just
some
like,
people
hey.
love it. I just always imagined that if I was famous, I would not want people to come up to me and be like, I can't believe it's you. I'd just be like, not again. Come on.
Well, I don't know. I argue
one.
that one of the things is if you choose a life that puts you in the spotlight, that makes you famous, that kind of comes with the territory, and you should expect it. So it's one of those that I don't really give people a buy on that. But with this one, it's just my own personal analysis, because I know people who are big fans of different people, and they know all their work, they know how to quote some of the characters, they know what's coming up next, and so they actually have like conversations with these people like, oh hey, I heard you had like signed a deal with this movie, is that coming out soon? Did you get the character you wanted? Stuff like that, and they actually have that kind of conversation. Me, I'm just like, you rock. Keep on rocking, because I'm lame. Unless I'm in an actual interview mode, I don't like think about those things. I'm just like, hey, they're real. That's neat.
Yeah. That's
so,
good.
So I didn't pay for an autograph or a picture or anything. I kind of wanted to, but I was looking at my walls like, where would I put it? What would I do with it? And so I kind of didn't really even buy anything at the con for the most part. But then the other person that was there, and this one, I took me the one that I had to look up, was Katrina Law. And again, some people probably won't know her, the actress, just off the top of your head. She got famous originally for being in the second series of Spartacus that came out.
Yep.
Yeah, and I never saw that one. The like Blood and Gold or whatever that one was. I didn't see the second one. I only saw the first Spartacus.
Oh.
But then I was yeah, exactly. Then I was like looking like, okay, but why do I know her? Well, the thing she's been doing recently that I've seen a lot of is she's been playing on the show Arrow as Ra's al Ghul's daughter. And I was binge watching Arrow, and so when I kept seeing her, I was like, gosh, she looks familiar. Why do I know her? And once I looked up for sure, I was like, that name's familiar. I looked like, oh snap! That's who that is! And so that one I actually did get a little bit like, that's cool, because I was something current I was watching her in. Still, didn't go talk to her or anything like that, but at the end of the night, a couple gals I knew, one that I hadn't seen for a long time, but they're both gals that had been in the pictures I was in with the pinup female group of Firefly Crew, the ones that originally, when I was doing my Shepherd book back at Comic-Con a couple years ago, they're the ones that played Wash and River, and so saw them just kind of, I've been friends with the one who played Wash with, I've been friends with her for a while and kind of seen her on and off at cons, but the other one I hadn't seen since Comic-Con. She was apparently helping set up things at this one. I also got to run into friends of the show. To run into Lily and Heather Wins. So the King of the Nerds cast. They did a panel there talking a lot about women in geek and things like that, which is really interesting. And I didn't know they were going to be there. Saw them on stage. Like, oh snap, hey! And it's funny because during that, the announcer guy who was working on it, and one of the audio in that room was not the best, and you really had to project. You had to be like in the microphone talking so everyone could hear you and make sure you enunciate your words. Because it was over the overhead speakers in this big room. So it was kind of audio-wise a mess. But he was mostly muffled. But at some point at the end, they were taking questions from the audience, and nobody was really getting up there to say anything. So I'm sitting there with basically a shit-eating grin on my face. And Lily looked at me and was like, well, I'm sure Wayne has a question. And I was like, okay. And it was bad because I'm sitting with my buddy MikeMike saying, I can't ask all the things that really I'd want to ask. Why didn't you guys go to my Halloween party? No. Things like that. But because I know them outside of the convention scene and stuff as well a little bit. I know them somewhat friendly and from our show and such. So I know some backstory and other things about them that I don't necessarily want to bring up to audiences. But that's what was going through my head. So when I got up there, I had to change on the fly what I was going to say. But it's also funny because I grabbed the microphone and I started talking somewhat in my podcasting voice. And it's amazing how I could hear myself on the speakers like, this is how you all need to speak. So I did have that moment of okay, it's not just the speaker setup here, it's actually all of you not talking right. But and I asked them a question basically about of all the things they've done in the con scene, if there's anything that had ever surprised or kind of blew them away about experience. And Heather told this great story about going to one of the conventions and how everyone saw her as a sweetheart on the show, and how she was sitting somewhere and someone just yelled Heather, ran up and grabbed her around the waist. And she's not one that normally you want to hug without permission kind of thing. But she looked down as a little girl who had grabbed on her legs you're my favorite nerd! Aww. And she was just like, what? That's never happened. So yeah, great story with that. Anyhow. But coming back from that, talking with them at the end of the night, as I was getting ready to go, almost the end of the con, I was kind of saying bye to everyone. So I went up to the two gals I knew and saying my farewells to them. They were talking to Katrina at her little booth. And I was just I didn't want to interrupt, but at the same time, I was like, hey, you gals, I'm not going to see, I don't know when I'll see you again, so I want to say, hey, boom, run away. I'm not going to be there today because it's going on another day today because I'm doing the show. But while I was sitting there, my hair, of course, was in all of its glory, being a garter belt from Penny and Stocking. And doing so, one of the gals I knew, she basically turned and as they were talking to Katrina, she's like, oh no, his hair's amazing, and reached over and did the fluffing of the Frocean kind of thing. And I was just kind of that's cool. And then that gal said, oh no, Katrina, if you want, you can touch it. He lets people touch it. And she was like, really? And she jumped up and reached over, and all of a sudden I had Katrina Law fully engulfed in the Frocean. Man, do I wish I had a photo of this experience.
I'm sure somebody does somewhere.
For me, that little bit of geek cred that I got yesterday for having this actress who is so attractive and does such a aggressive, cool role on a show that I'm actively watching and interested in, to come up and just be a regular person and jump into it based on what these two gals who are friends of mine said, and just reach over and just hands deep into the Frocean, going oh yeah, this is nice. That did kind of make my night, and I was just okay, that's cool. So that was my fun little con thing. Alright, that is all I have to say about cons. I have to talk about some games. So, for my geek cred, one thing I'm going to bring up, you're going to hate me, Ken, but too bad, it's happening, is I saw another friend of mine post on social media and basically say, hey, does anybody have a friend code, and is anybody playing this game that I've been playing? I was like, oh, what game is that? And apparently, on smart devices, there is a My Little Pony game. And initially, and I was just whatever, this is going to be dumb, right? Initially, this thing, I thought, whatever. It's another city builder game, a whatever it is, the ones that you see on the Facebook browser stuff, because it has that city building kind of look to it, where you put towns together, little things like that. The one thing I'd say that it was interesting about this game more than anything, and that made it surprisingly fun, and it just says My Little Pony, so if you look on your device, look for apps, you'll find it. But is that as you're doing processing the game, it actually has a conglomeration of mini games that are all like touch games that you would play from other apps. So it has a little bounce a ball one back and forth. It has a thing running back forth catching apples that fall. It has another thing popping balloons. It has like a tracing one where it shows you stars of like solar system type stuff, and you have to draw out the design the stars are making in a timeline and all this stuff to work up points. And it's also got one that's a classic kind of like side-scroll runner game where you get in a minecart and you're going through and collecting things from the mine, and you have to jump. Basically, all you get to do is jump over obstacles and gets faster and harder and things like that. Like all those classic little side-scroll runner games. But it put all of these types of games into, you know, this little My Little Pony game. And so while you may hate this IP, you may hate My Little Pony, but as a game for a mobile device, it's surprisingly fun. And it lets you like see comparison with your friends for how many points they've gotten and ways you can up your points through bonuses and just all these little extra things you can do in the game that I was actually I was surprised that there was that many game elements in it. So just throwing that out there. Another game that I checked out just for a second, and only because I kept seeing ads for it somewhere on my social media or somewhere. But you know the like little mini statuesque type games, the things like the what Nintendo does with Amiibos and all that? Well, there's another separate one that I never really understood and didn't pay much attention to. I just saw it had an equal number of like little miniatures, but it's Disney Infinite, which is this whole, or Infinity or whatever. But it's a Disney game that allows you to basically buy these little characters that you can then use in-game and run around and do stuff with in these adventures. Well, it is free to play on Steam. And I was thinking, okay, but I'll have to buy these miniatures, right? And I don't know how this works. Haven't even paid attention to that piece yet, but I downloaded the game. It's definitely a controller game, but it's kind of a fun, almost plays like a Lego hero, like Legos game, without the creation and stuff like that, but kind of that cartoony, stepped away from your character kind of look. And they do various things, running around killing creatures in the different worlds, and there's an overall storyline in there where the villain from The Incredibles, the kid, Syndrel, I think is what he called himself in Incredibles, has come out, and there's a whole party of all these Disney characters and IPs, including Star Wars now, thank you, Copy, Disney Infinity 3, that he comes and like steals a magic wand from Mickey, and then I forget the wizard's name, but the wizard from, I want to say Sword in the Stone, pops in and like berates Mickey for losing a magic wand that easily and such, and then Syndrel like pops back in and steals his magic wand and takes off. But then it's your mission with all these different characters to go back and basically go through all these levels, backtrack your way through whatever Syndrel did to do it, to eventually get the wands back. It's fun. It's silly. Like I said, it's got that Legos feel in a way where you can actually switch between characters if you die and stuff. The way I played it with the free set, because you can buy characters in the game, and they're not cheap. Anywhere from packs for like $20 with 3 characters and some skins and stuff, to individual characters for like $2 to like $5, I think, each, which unlocks them and you can use them permanently, but there's still a point where you can die with them and everything in the game. And then they're on a timer to when you can use them again. But they did at least provide for one from each genre, because they had Disney, Marvel, and Star Wars as the main character genres that you could pull a character from, and they had at least one free demo character in each genre. And so I played through it for like an hour and was just kind of like, this is fun. I may have to come back to this game. So just throwing that one out there. I was surprised it's free. I saw these little, ads for it. I was like, if it's free to play, I'll check it out, right? Similar vein, there's a game recently that just went free to play that was notorious for, or not notorious, but was famous for being a different pricing model than most MMOs, and that is Guild Wars 2.
Is it really?
Yes, because primarily it was you buy it once, play for life. Now it's free to play. And there are benefits to paying. It kind of went to the model where you get the whole, well, I don't know the whole game. Initial main story of the game, there's new expansions come out that still cost, which is like one of the character types or something like that else, some mods, as well as how many characters you can have. I think for free you get two character slots. But this is another one. I just installed it last night and kind of played with it, but it's a good-looking, older game, solid gameplay, a little more action-based than several of the MMOs that are out there, which is kind of cool. Thank you, Copy. That was the other one I was thinking, is like Skylanders, but I've never actually played Skylanders. I just see the little miniatures from it. So I'm like, But with Guild Wars 2, there's one issue. I want to tell people that if you do want to check it out, be aware. When you download, if you go to the website, and you have to go around because they're still trying to sell you the game. But you can find the play for free, sign up for an account, and then finally get the download for it. Download the executable, but don't run it. The game does this weird thing where it installs wherever the executable lives.
What? That is ridiculous.
So, with that in mind, the tip is, there's a reason for this. When you get the executable, make a directory on your gaming drive or wherever you would have it. Name it Guild Wars 2. Put that in there and then run it. And then it will install and run everything in that directory.
Or just leave it to install into your downloads folder.
Which is what it does. It did that to me. Because I was looking for it the next day, this morning. I did it last night. I was looking for it this morning, and it never installed a shortcut on my desktop for whatever reason. The way I installed it, it just didn't. And so I was looking like, where is it? I look at my start menu, can't find it. I start looking like it's not a Steam game. You have to do it outside of that by going to Guild Wars 2's site. So I didn't have it through Steam. I'm sitting there like, wait, I played this game yesterday. Where the heck did it go? And I started looking around. I started looking on the forums because there's also nothing that was installed that said like Guild Wars 2 or even the Arena Net or whatever the company behind it is. Because I went to my C and D drives, I went to my program files, I went to my game. I was like, where the heck is it? Lo and behold, just like you said, Ken, in my downloads folder. And it doesn't even like create a full separate directory. It just creates 3 new files and one other directory that says like DFT or something like that, some kind of data folder. That's it. And then it starts downloading and it basically runs in one massive DAT file. And when it's fully installed, I think I have it over here, that DAT file is 25 gigs.
What?
And so, yeah, it's just one DAT file.
Disgusting.
That's 25 gigs, 2 little temp files that are 0. They're so small they don't register. And then the executable, which is like 20 megs, 28 megs, and a little README file that's like half a meg. That's it. But so when it downloads, it puts it all into this massive .dat file. So if you do want to check out Guild Wars 2, be aware of that. And so that's really all I want to say about those. The thing I needed to talk about gaming, since I'm sure we'll have a whole nother line of this to go with the next week, since games are afoot. There are many a new release coming out. All the people I know around that are on consoles have been playing Halo 5, playing the heck out of that. I know Paz has that even. But the one that just came out that VTW Gaming Guild has been very excited for is the new Call of Duty Black Ops 3 was released on Thursday night at 11:10, somewhere around that my time. Basically midnight Eastern. And first of all, gaming releases when I have to work the next day. Oi. Because I had told myself, and La Camp-et was actually smart because he had to work it as well, but myself and Shady were maybe not as well disciplined. And so when it came out, I was all ready to go to bed, chill out, get up maybe early in the morning and check it out real quick. But I saw some people on TeamSpeak, jumped in there, was like, oh hey, Paz is in here, Man with a Plan is in here, Shady's in here. Basically all these people that I've been playing Black Ops 2 with for quite some time. Oh hey everybody! And so we're talking, and it's like, oh no, we're installing it. We're in. It's like, Paz is already in the game. Like, wait, what? I didn't think it was supposed to release for like another 2 hours. I was going to go to bed. Like, no, you can get it now. It just has to unpack all the encrypted files that you preloaded. And I'm sitting here like, damn it. Well, let me hit the play button, see what happens. It starts unpacking. Talking to everyone. And I would have gone to bed then too, because it's like, oh, this is going to take an hour to unpack all the files. Because that game is basically a 60 gig install. I think the main files are 47 gigs, something like that. For the install, it's a biggin. So I was like, all right, I'm going to go to bed. It's going to take like an hour. And then the guys started talking to me, telling what they were experiencing, how the menu structure is. Paz was giving this whole like first look about what he was, what the classes, the options, things like that. I was like, damn it. Which kept me on. And next thing I know, it's like 15 minutes left. 5 minutes left. Well, crud, it's done. And everyone else is playing. And it's 11 o'clock. I should go to bed, but I could just hit play and at least check it out.
Really quite easy to play it right now.
It's amazing how that works. So I will
Already
tell
installed,
you, somewhere after midnight when I went to bed and got up around 5 something and was like, oh, I could sleep in a bit before work. And I was like, or Black Ops is on my computer and I could play it a little more. and got up and played it some more before going to work in 12 hours. Oi. But Black Ops 3, we've had a lot of hope for, a lot of concern because all the other like Call of Duty's last two that have come out, Advanced Warfare and Ghost, were both terribad. Not good games. Black Ops 2 we kept going back to, and we've logged hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of hours in there. I know Pause, Shady, Campo have put in like 1,000 hours. I put in hundreds. And so it's one of those things, we did want to play this new Black Ops. We were hoping it would be good. So we've since jumped into it. We've played it multiple times over the weekend. I don't know how many hours I have it total. It says I've now done 5 hours in the game. So I've still only had little bits of time here and there around the convention and work. But so far, initial review is it's actually quite good. There is a piece where you do need to go and play with some of the settings. They've done things to up the graphics to make it amazing.
That's
But
nice.
you need to be careful because that amazing graphics does not make it amazing for multiplayer smoothness. Things like VSync and extra anti-aliasing that's film quality kind of makes things a little mushy when you're worrying about tracking somebody really twitchy. And the frames don't kind of... Right, so there's some things you need to change in there. Essentially turn off all your anti-aliasing. That's surprisingly a hard hit on this game. As well as, you know, the little like any mouse acceleration, stuff like that. This game does allow you to up your field of view, which is nice. So it starts you at like 65, 75 something, which is basically console level, but it lets you up to 120 degrees of field of view, which to me is a bit fisheye, so I'm like at 100, but looks great. And it does really let it cater to a PC game. This is not just a console hack where it feels like it did some quick, you know, transition over. They did build this for the PC, which is exciting. So far, I've only touched the single player, but the nice thing they're almost going a direction that in Black Ops 3 that other games are going away from, especially on consoles. One of the big criticisms of Halo 5 is that they got rid of split play, the split screen, where traditionally on like the Gears of War, Halo's games, stuff like that, you could sit down with someone else next to you, grab a controller, and play split screen and go through the campaign together, right? Awesome.
Yeah.
Halo 5, you can't. It's only one screen. And so,
Kidding me.
no, they took that away. And it is actually an extra reason why I don't think I would play it, because I was even telling people, I was like, I don't think I'm going to get an Xbox One just to play Halo 5. It's a lot of money for that, but I'd like to check it out. I should go over to a friend's house. We could sit down and play some co-op.
Yeah.
Well, I can't do that.
I hate that they're killing this. I hate that the industry has been killing off co-op, non-online play, local
Well,
co-op.
it's like they're killing LAN play, they're killing local co-op, all these things are basically forcing everybody to have to go buy your own copy, buy your own system, have your own TV, and play alone in your room and maybe connect to people via the internet. And in doing so, selling more copies of Live and PSN and stuff like that where they make more money than anything else. It's just, it killed me that happened. I was actually really offended by that because that's how I played all of the Halos I played, really.
Yeah,
was sitting
me
on the
too,
couch
me
with
too.
someone. So that was annoying. But on the flip side, Black Ops 3 has added it. If every time you bring up, there's a little option in the corner where if you add a controller, it'll allow you to play in split screen with someone else at your computer. Which no one else has done. At least on PC and on like a Call of Duty game, really. It's like, really?
That's cool.
You've added this for PC play? How innovative.
That's rare. That's
Yes.
very rare.
Well, and they've talked about, now granted, not everything was available on release because Black Ops is going to have some growing to do with DLC. But they're also planning to add some things like dedicated servers that you yourself can host, actual server EXE you can run and control all the stats for. It won't let you run ranked servers, but you'll be able to set up your own experience where you can control the levels played, the rules of that map, and stuff like that. And even just to scrim and play on locally, so you don't have to be reaching out to this weird connection somewhere. You'll just be able to jump in a server you like, regardless of waiting on the matchmaking. But that's coming in DLC. Another thing that they've said will come in DLC is map editing and modding support. Which we're trying to look back and think if a Call of Duty game from Activision has ever had mod support. Like officially. And so this is kind of exciting. Being able to make your own whole, like, not just weapon skins and stuff like that, but entire maps. Again, things that have been going away, coming back in a game like Call of Duty from Activision. What?
Yeah.
It seems counter, right? Weird
That's
that
really
I'm
weird. They're doing
praising
something that's innovative and
that's old school and
What?
awesome because they're also supporting like LAN support and things like that. So we've been playing it a bit. And the other thing they did is they still have core and hardcore for those people who like to play multiplayer online, especially competitive or against each other. The thing they still do is for ranked play, if you actually want to have your stats kept and play against what would be considered the modes for competition in esport, they are only playing in a modified version of core, so it still takes more damage, more shots to kill somebody, but they added friendly fire so that you can still kill your friends, which is kind of a hybrid thing. So I played one match of it, and unfortunately the other team started losing, and so everyone bailed except one guy. And so he was like, how do I play this? I was like, well, when it's 4v1, you don't. And there's a little mode where you have to go get a thing from the middle and take it back to a goal, essentially. Fun mode. Not really something I can talk to since only one game of it with uneven teams. Mostly, we've been playing between Paz, Man, myself, a few others have been playing core to get ready for the arena, which is that ranked play. Because we basically have discussed in VTW, we were really good at Black Ops 2 hardcore team deathmatch. We could smoke people constantly. Very few teams could hold their own against us, let alone beat us. However, that is one single game mode on one single thing that is not considered ranked play and is never competitive. So we could sit there all day and stroke our backs and tell ourselves how good we were. We couldn't really say anything on a world scale. So we decided or talked about with Black Ops 3, if it was good, if we started playing core and could get into the arena mode and actually rank, we could get into a point where we'd have some legitimate arguments for how good the VTW clan is.
Hey, that could be cool.
So with that, we've been playing majority core. Not everybody, a few people don't like core. They think that it takes far too many bullets to kill people. Sometimes it does. But I still think it actually is pretty balanced. So I'm looking forward to getting some more time in there and seeing what the VTW clan can do in Black Ops 3. Final piece, and I can't say much about it. I know that several of the guys have been playing a lot through the campaign. Heck, in the multiplayer, as of today, Paz is already over level 50 in basically 3.5, 4 days, where I'm like 17 or 18 in my 5 hours. And so he's been crushing it, already unlocked basically everything, and starting to do the normal Paz thing where he mostly wrecks people, even in core. But the other thing they've done is they're playing some of the single player. I haven't got much into it, but that's because I'm an idiot, and I do what I always claim I do on these FPS, games like Call of Duty and stuff where the single player campaign is really going to be short. I put it up to the hardest difficulty to start playing it through, which in this time they made harder than previous ones. This one's called realistic.
The problem with these kind of games is the developers understand that they can't make the AI realistic to an incredible extent. They can only do it to a mediocre extent, right? So what they do is harder difficulties make them have inhuman capabilities, like auto aim, like I have seen you, I have shot you, like to with time zones that humans can't do.
They can give them an awareness of things that a person would never have, which can be an artificial way of making it more difficult. Well, in this one, what they did is, in realistic mode, essentially it means one shot you die. Period. Any random bullet, you die. And so you have to slowly creep corners and let things develop and find out kind of quick peek where everyone you have to defend against is at before you can enter a room and try pulling the trigger. And they have AI that runs with you and helps, but even with that, I've made it essentially 15 minutes into the single player of actual gameplay because that realistic mode is brutal. So I may choose to drop that a bit and go back to the veteran or whatever the next hardest mode is, where you can at least take like 2 bullets before dying, because realistic is brutal. And I know the guys, Paz and whoever else he's been playing with, they tried realistic and they said after about 10 minutes of beating their head against it, they were like, nope, bring it back, we're dialing it down. And Paz said they just beat the campaign.
When I played Halo 3 back in the day, I loved SWAT mode. That was probably my most favorite game type. And SWAT mode was you could kill people by shooting them in the chest and stuff, but it would take like an entire magazine. And it would take you a long time. But to get an instant kill, you could get 1 bullet in the head. Just 1 bullet. So people, it was basically a headshot game. I was pretty good. I had good latency for 1. And 2, I always aimed for the head anyway. Like, I was always what I always did. So I already had that I was already quite lucky because I already had the technique down. So I loved it. I absolutely loved that game because I just kick ass with it. So I think I'd probably enjoy that mode more than any others in COD.
Well, that's why I think
BO3.
BO3. That's why the ranked mode looks interesting, because they still prioritize damage to headshots and such. But it's one of those that's kind of like, well, it'd be interesting to see how we do this. But yeah, so the single player solid, and the other thing they did, before we switch over and try to talk at least a little bit of news, is in the single player, they've made it a little bit longer in an artificial way, where once you play the whole thing through, and it's arguably like 11 30-minute episode type or scenes that is the single player, you get to go back through it again, but this time essentially they make it a zombie mode of the single player campaign.
Oh,
So it's
cool.
still the same campaign, but they've redone a lot of the lines from it, so everything is being stated and kind of the world you're experiencing, adding zombies into it. And people said that's a fairly epic experience and makes it
That's
equally
cool.
fun to go back through. And so that's something for me to look forward to, and I'll have to figure out when I get time to try to get further along in the single player. I've been focusing on multiplayer to try to see if we can do it serious or do better with it. So we'll see. All right. So now, as the music has forced me into this position, it is time for me to say,
Technology, news, and more today on the Geekoscope.
and with all of 10 minutes or less left in the show, the one thing I will bring up begrudgingly, mostly because Cupcheck was mentioning it and trying to say that's somehow big news or something, is that something else that happened this weekend is another convention that some people went to. If you want a more in-depth discussion of it, you should probably go listen to Alpha Geek Radio next Thursday and listen to Casually Hardcore, because they were out there. And you probably could have seen some of the feed from Total Biscuit from John Bain on his Twitter account, but that company Blizzard decided to put together their little Love Me Fest that they have each year called Blizzcon to make some minor announcements or tweaks to things that they do every year. And yes, I'm being sarcastic and hate-filled as I go through this. So, one article that I found real quick as I was posting about this that basically talks about some of the bigger trailers, videos, and announcements from BlizzCon. So, I can think of one that I actually care about. I'm trying to decide I should probably bring it up on first or last, because how many things from it, Ken, were you tracking or are you aware of?
I was watching most. I didn't actually watch the stream, but I've seen the highlights. So I have a few things.
Okay.
I have something for, well, obviously the WoW trailer. I want to talk about Hearthstone a little bit, and I want to talk about Overwatch quickly as well.
All right, quick, go!
Okay. So first of all, the WoW trailer is out, and it is interesting. There's mixed commentary on people's thoughts. I think it
Really?
looks beautiful, but personally, I do also see that it looks very tropish. The trailer is full of tropes, so I'm worried that they're trying to appeal to an audience that isn't the WoW player base. You know, they're trying to just
That's an interesting consideration, because when I saw it, I see the scenes, it's like, well, that's pretty cool. My challenge is that the CG looks a little too CG, which is weird, right? Because they're blending such a common thing, where if it was strictly the people who do the animation for the cutscenes and for the expansion trailers and stuff like that for WoW, I would have even blinked an eye and be like, I want to see that movie. Because they're doing this weird hybrid of actual actors in costume and a lot of CG on top of it, it looks a little awkward to me. And I don't know with the storyline, because I unfortunately don't know the lore enough to see how well this follows what people are expecting from the WoW lore.
I'm pretty sure it would.
But it looks interesting enough that I'm excited for it. I do want to see the WoW movie. Although, sorry, it's not
definitely excited.
it's not the WoW movie. Let's say it right. Warcraft the movie.
Yes.
Because this is about the first interaction with the humans and the orcs. And so
Which is
it's-
cool. That's a good thing to focus on.
And I think it will make for a fun story, some action scenes. It's interesting because the scenes where I see the humans interacting and their stuff looked more fake to me than the orcs.
Yeah, I don't know. It looked okay to me. I mean, I personally, I'm really excited for it. Don't get me wrong. I think I'm probably gonna enjoy it just because it's Warcraft and I love the lore more than anything. I'm afraid they're gonna kill the lore. If they do, I'm gonna be very sad. And I'm afraid it's just not going to be very good and just too tropish, and they're trying to do something that just it shouldn't be. We'll see. But it came out. Go watch it if you haven't already. It is definitely a well-made, put-together thing. Whether the film itself is going to be good, that's something we'll have to wait and see with. But so far, I'm excited, I'll say. I'm excited. We also have Hearthstone stuff. So as Cupcheck was mentioning the IRC, this Thursday, this coming Thursday, Hearthstone, Blizzard are coming out with a new adventure in Hearthstone called the League of Explorers. So there's something like 40 new cards. I'm just scrolling through, something like that. 30, 40 new cards, and then a new adventure. It looks quite exciting. I'll be picking up. I'll be probably putting some money into that because I love Hearthstone and I always have. It's something I can always go back to. And the cards look quite fun. The one that really came out that I thought was really interesting was one called Anything Can Happen. Anything Can Happen.
Okay.
It's a 10 cost Paladin card. This says summon 7 Warlocks that died this game.
Oh, weird.
So that looks pretty fun to me. I'm definitely excited. There's a link in this show. Let's go and look for to see all. You can see the details for every single card that's coming out. It's going to be cool. I'm definitely probably going to enjoy it because I don't see how they can do it wrong. I'm loving the last expansion. I've loved all the adventures so far. They've done it all very well. A bit money grabbing, but otherwise I really enjoyed it. And finally, my last point was Overwatch is £45 if you go into freaking Blizzard's own client now. Their stupid client thing for game launching. It'll cost you £45 for what we all thought was going to be a free game. So yeah,
that is probably one of the biggest announcements I think from this, because they also talked about some hints about Diablo 3, and they talked about some new characters and stuff for Heroes of the Storm. None of which I thought was all that exciting. That's just me. Legacy of the Void, watch the trailer for that. Great. If you've been enjoying the StarCraft 2 games, you'll probably get this one as well. I still argue StarCraft 2 has been weak compared to the stories they've done in like Warcraft 2, 3, and the original StarCraft, but that's me. The real news there about that Overwatch announcement's really like a, to the face for everyone thinking, where everything else they've been doing has been these free to play or out there things, and the look and feel of what they were talking about with Overwatch really sounded like a free-to-play game. With, skins and characters and stuff like that you'd pay for like any of the other free-to-plays. So the idea that this is a full-cost AAA game title type thing, I don't know about that one. Now, others could argue. I don't know. I haven't seen anything from Overwatch that made me say, oh my god, I need to have this game. I've seen stuff that made it look like, oh, this could be fun. Something that looks kind of crazy fast and cool, but nothing was like, this is the next buy, it's on my list. So knowing that it's not going to be something I can just try out and come up with, puts it a little further off the list. But that's just me. And as I talk about any of my when I go into general gaming discussions, I'm a Blizz hater, so take that all with a grain of salt.
That's true. But I was expecting to hear more about, I don't know. I'm sad to hear that they're money grabbing so much Overwatch, and I was expecting to hear more good things about it rather than such a major sad thing. I can see why they want to get money for it, but honestly, it's a bad strategy nowadays. The industry's changed. If you just put some money into it through like people buying skins or whatever, or silly items or boxes or whatever, like TF2 does, make the game free, they would do so much better.
It's really amazing how much money you could generate with free-to-play.
Yeah. Well, one of the highest revenue games right now is freaking League of Legends, and it's a completely free-to-play. So, think of it that way, guys. Try and learn from these mistakes that you seem to be making again and again here. But we'll see. Who are we to talk? We're just the gamers. We're just the guys who actually play
We're just
products.
people that enjoy the fruits of other people's labor, and talking to all of you about our days, our lives, and the things that we find interesting. That's what we do. Speaking of which, Ken, if you would give us so kindly an outro for this week's show so we can get ready to get into the gaming show. Yes, that's what I told you. We only had so much time. So we can start gaming a little bit tonight.
You have been listening to Show X on VTWProductions.com. Check us out on Patreon.com. Go to www.patreon.com/ShowX and you can give us some pennies. We like those because they keep our servers running and they keep smiles on our faces. Like Mr. Wayne's lovely big smile right now. Look at that big, what's it called? Cheeser right now. Look at that big cheeser. Pennies are helpful to keep the show running. We appreciate that. Check us out on Facebook.com, search for ShowX and find us there. Twitter.com/VTWShowX, Twitter.com/DocDead, and Twitter.com/GoX for the show, for Wayne, and for myself. Send us an emails. Tell us your geek cred. Tell us what you've been up to. showx@VTrussians.com as well. And check out all the other shows on VTrussians.com. They are all awesome. We have a standard of quality that we expect of all the shows, and they all attain. And also check out our partners in crime, AGR, Alpha Greek Radio, for the simulcasting station that help us out so much with No Miles and that bunch over there. And with that, thank you for having me on the show, Mr. Wayne. I always have fun. Thank you.
Yes, and looking forward to talking more next week. All right, everybody, we are out of here, and I hope you have a good time. We look forward for hearing from you. If there's more news, much like Cupcheck just forced us to do, that you would like us to talk about, please just either email in the show or let us know in the IRC. We'll talk with you guys again next week. Bye.
Goodbye. See you in the next zombie.